Hello, hello, hello. Well, it's a little late that I'm filming this, but it's time to put together my March wrap-up. And I read a lot in March. Yeah, wow, I sound like an idiot. I certainly did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I read 6 books. And, they were in quite a wide variety of, what's the word? Quality? Yeah, okay. Let's start with the first thing that I finished, which I did not, really like that much. And that was A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I need to stop reading her books. Like, maybe that's the conclusion that I should take from this, because I have listened to all 3 of her thrillers, and this is the newest one. And I really liked Girl on the Train, and Into the Water, I think it was called, was pretty good. And now, again, there's been like another step down in my enjoyment when we get to A Slow Fire Burning. And I don't even, like, it's not even interesting to talk about why I don't like this book, because I don't dislike it for any interesting reason. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, anyway. And I just thought it was kind of boring. I just didn't really care about the characters. I felt like for a murder mystery, not enough focus was on the actual victim of the murder. But instead on all of this other stuff that, I mean, yeah, eventually he gets a little bit more connected with some of it because it's his family is involved with a lot of this drama that you're learning about. There's a lot of showing scenes in flashback from earlier parts of these people's lives. Also, the description of the book makes it sound like there is a focus on 3 women as possible suspects, but that's not really what happens. And there's a couple of other characters who aren't even mentioned in that, just in that basic, oh, it's about these 3 women description. Like, no, there's also a 4th woman, and there is also a man. So it was not bad. There were things about it that I liked, but it just wasn't terribly interesting. Like, as I was listening to it, I just kept kind of going, like, I don't care. I don't care, I don't care. I just didn't find anything she chose to do particularly interesting. Oops. And I found the characters either boring or irritating. See, like, this is the issue with reviewing stuff a month later. I'm like, I don't remember the characters' names. But there's this young woman who's one of the main characters, and she was very irritating. And like, it was bugging me because I'm listening to this book going, I should feel sorry for her. She's had a tough life, and I should like her because I often like characters who make stupid choices and are kind of disasters. And I was just like, no. I didn't really. Like, sometimes I'd be like, she's fine. She does good things sometimes. She seems like a decent human being. But then she would kind of go all like, oh, I'm like never taking any, like, she would do some stupid shit, but she would never take responsibility for the stupid shit she did. She always just kind of blamed it on the fact that she had brain damage or whatever. So I don't have anything interesting to say except that maybe I need to stop reading Paula Hawkins's murder mystery thrillers because I don't find them particularly thrilling. Then I read Tarnished Are the Stars by Rosie Thor. I also did not like this, but for different reasons. Oh God. Okay. So this was from my list to read this year, and it is a young adult science fiction novel about these 3 people, these 3 teenagers who are kind of thrust together, and it's a little hard to explain. Let me see how much I want to tell you. It's set far in the future on a world where a lot of people live in a space station, but they're trying to colonize a planet. And the city that is kind of the initial colony on the planet has this prohibition against particular forms of technology. Now they put it like we don't have technology. I mean, come on, you do. But there are kinds of technology that they don't have. And one of these is, there are some people on the planet who have a condition which is only really curable through the use of an artificial heart. It's kind of a steampunk deal because it's like a clockwork heart or a pacemaker almost, but it's clockwork. I don't know. And okay, so whatever. Let's talk about what was stupid about this book. So first of all, I need to stop reading young adult science fiction. Like, the issue is that, like, there are young adult books that I really enjoy, but none of them have been sci-fi because I feel like science fiction, for me, I want intricate world building, I want complex shit, and young adult just will not give it to me. This book especially is egregious because there's a lot of stuff that we're told about the way the world works, but there are so many details that are left out, and there are things that just plain don't make any sense, or that I just personally don't find interesting. I'm not interested in congenital heart defects that are solved by a clockwork heart thing. It's just not interesting. One of the things that I thought was stupid and doesn't make sense, okay, so one of the main characters is from this other town on the same planet that is made up of people who do embrace technology and are hiding from the government, the police, whatever, of the main colony. It is an hour's walk away, and they have not been found for like 20 years. What the fuck? I don't believe it. I spent some of the book just kind of being like, surely they know you're there and they're just pretending they don't. But no, they really didn't know where they were. And I was like, they're looking for you. How the fuck have they not found you an hour's walk away? Like, I get there's a cliffside thing going on. Like, you can't actually see the town from the city, but that is not a long distance. Okay? You can walk like, I don't know, I want to say like 3, 4, maybe 5 miles in an hour. That is not far. Fuck, I can see Chicago from a farther away distance than that is, okay? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's I don't know why, but that is my biggest beef with the world building here. Like, I couldn't get behind it and it ruined everything. But yeah, so a lot of my issue was just, it's young adult and it is not a particularly well written young adult book. It doesn't have a lot of detail. Everything that happens in it takes place over the course of like a week, which I just didn't like. And I kept comparing it, like, I don't want to compare young adult to very good adult books. I'm like, that's not really fair. But I do try to compare it to very good young adult books. And I was like, I don't just dislike this because it's young adult. I have liked plenty of young adult books. Well, maybe not plenty, but some. I have read good young adult. It's out there. This ain't it. The reason I read this book is because for some ungodly reason, I have this short list of books with asexual characters and they're all goddamn young adult books. Can somebody rescue me from this like issue that I have? I'm tired of just reading about asexual protagonists in young adult literature. I am not a young adult. I don't want to read about teenagers, particularly. Like, if I'm out here, like, I would love to read about an asexual character who I could somehow relate to at least a little bit, but I would please like them to be 35 years old and have like a job, a life, maybe something like that. With young adult, it's like they're still figuring themselves out because they're a teenager or they're a young adult, and it's like, listen, I'm past that point in my life. I'm not that interested in it anymore. It's not all I want to read. Anyway, there's an asexual character in this. I liked him, okay? I thought that the way he was written was one of the better parts of the book. Because the thing is that there's a lot of stuff in this book where I'm like, I see what she's going for, and I like what she's going for. I just don't think she's hitting it. But I like Nathan. I think that was his name. And it was nice to read about an asexual protagonist who is not a girl. That mix it up a little bit. Because otherwise, I don't think I've ever read another book where the asexual protagonist is a man or a boy. He's like, what, he's like 19. But yeah, there was interesting stuff going on with Nathaniel, and I liked that element. I thought that was well done. I thought there was some good writing in his kind of how he feels about his sexuality, that he doesn't like really understand it. He's still kind of figuring that out, and he doesn't know the terminology. There's a scene where one of the other characters explains to him the idea of asexuality, and I realized that it's just very weird for me to read God, I just realized you can see this stupid rabbit Easter like wreath thing my sister hung up that I don't like. But anyway, there we go. It's gonna be in this whole video. I need to shut up about this book because there's 4 more things for me to talk about. Okay, Jesus. But anyway, I thought that I just sort of hit the, oh, it's weird for me to be reading a sci-fi book where they say, oh, you're asexual. And then I was like, wait, why do I have a problem with that? I don't know. Maybe it's because it's something I'm not really used to. Maybe it's because I feel like, oh, but it's the future and a lot of things are different, so the way we conceptualize sexuality should be different as well, or maybe the term should be different or something. I have no idea. Anyway, so that was just kind of a stupid thing that is a problem with me, but I didn't really like the book. Let's talk, you know what, actually I'm gonna wait to talk about my favorite book that I read this month. Okay, I'm gonna do that last, so I have something to look forward to. So let's talk about Kill You Twice by Chelsea Cain. I'm gonna try and get past some of these. My God, finish the sentence. This one was pretty good. It was solid. It's the 5th book of the Archie Sheridan and Gretchen Lowell thriller, serial killer, mystery, etc., series that I have been reading slowly. And yeah, book 5 of 6, so I'm almost done. And it was solid. I don't think it was quite as intriguing serial killer-wise as some of the earlier books, but there was some evisceration, some vivisection. Gretchen was in it a bunch, which she wasn't really in book 4, so it was kind of nice, question mark, to see her again. Nice. Excuse me. And Archie and Susan might actually, like, that might actually be endgame. Which I guess I'm neutral on as far as opinion, but I'm curious to see where it goes. But you know, it was what I wanted it to be, basically, so that was fine. Then I read The Third Coast by Thomas Dijja. Now this one's nonfiction, and it's about Chicago, and I actually have a copy. It is a book that I own. It is in my possession. I can actually hold it up and show you. It even has a bunch of pictures. I'm going to limit myself to only showing you one. Wait, no, just kidding. I'm going to show you 2. This is a photograph taken by a Harry Callahan. I just think it's gorgeous. It's called Chicago, and it's obviously like trees, snow. I believe that this is the lake back here, and it's all foggy. I'm obsessed with it. The other thing I wanted to show, oops, I think I skipped past it. Here we go. Is 860 880 Lakeshore Drive, which is a pair of high-rise apartment buildings. This is not, God, I'm not showing this well, but like, I think they're gorgeous. Maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me, but they are gorgeous. They're just kind of like the epitome of the Mies van der Rohe high-rise look. Anyway, that book, The Third Coast, it's about how Chicago shaped America's culture in the mid-20th century. So it really focuses on kind of like post-war, as in post-World War I, 40s, and then the 50s. And it's interesting. There is a lot about music. There's a lot about art and architecture. There is a lot of people that I've never heard of being discussed quite dramatically, and there's a lot about Richard J. Daley, who I don't like. The more I learn about him, the more I'm like, you ain't it, bro. But also, Like, yeah, he just ain't it. Anyway, yeah, so when Chicago built the American dream. A lot of things started in Chicago that I didn't even really know, but he makes the case that like Chicago had a huge influence on culture during that period of time, on early television shows, on music, especially blues, and on rock and roll being invented in Chicago basically by Chuck Berry. We've got Playboy, we've got McDonald's, we've got like writers like Nelson Algren or Gwendolyn Brooks. He talks about Studs Terkel a lot. He yells about Mies van der Rohe a lot. So it's an interesting book. I wanted to read more about Chicago in the 20th century, and I got my wish. I am not really an artistic person, particularly. So it was interesting to read about that, but also I feel kind of a little disconnected from it because I'm just not like... I listened to some of the music he talked about, like, because I'd never really listened to the blues or a lot of these artists before, so I listened to a little Muddy Waters. I mean, like, I've heard of Muddy Waters, but anyway, it's a decent book. Okay, let's go Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This was great. Ring Shout is an itty-bitty little novella where essentially it's about a group of people who are fighting, especially one specific woman with a sword, who is fighting and killing members of the Ku Klux Klan, but they have been sort of possessed by and turned into literal monsters. So there's a lot of kind of other dimensional alien horrors in this, and it's interesting. I had a good time with it. It was very well done. I liked the main character, I liked her sword, I liked the concept, and I definitely want to read more of his stuff. Now, let's talk about The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. My favorite book this month and probably this year. I mean, it's a little early, but fuck, I loved The Sparrow. Okay, The Sparrow is science fiction. It is basically about a Jesuit mission to have first contact with some aliens. While it's also about that, it's also simultaneously about the sole survivor of that mission. 40 years later, because of relativity, returned to Earth and recovering from his ordeal and slowly starting to explain to his superiors or his fellow priests what happened and why it all went so wrong. The sheer number of times this book made me cry, okay? Okay, like, part of it is because it's going back and forth between the timelines, and you start realizing things as you go on. For me, the big realization was, oh, these people that I really enjoy reading about in the past, they're the ones who go on the mission. So they're all dead. Except for Emilio Sandaz. And he's been broken. I mean, that's kind of rude, but like, it's not untrue. He's been very badly hurt by this experience. And it's just like, I was like sitting, I was just like so sad because I loved them all. I loved them all. I especially loved Annie Edwards. I would love to be her when I grow up. She's just ideal in every way. Just, fuck, there was so much in this book. Like, I could talk about it for an hour, probably longer. I really could. I could go on and on. I have a lot of feelings about it, but like, especially about Emilio. Annie is right. Emilio is very easy to love. And I think just, it's like, not only are you going through it kind of wondering what happened and why did it all go wrong and why did they die, and maybe wondering like, did Emilio have some sort of culpability in this? Why is he the sole survivor? Under what circumstances was he found exactly that is causing some of the other characters to say some weird things to him / about him? What is going on? Like, because we're not told everything up front. But as you kind of go through it, not only do you start to understand some of the stuff, some of it almost like starts to become more horrible. Like, I don't know. I don't know that I want to go into spoilers. I don't really. I will say, if you've read it, there's kind of a couple of revelations towards the end. And I thought it was interesting how the other characters, who are all these other Jesuit priests that he's sort of confessing to in a sense, why they were so surprised. Because I was like, oh, well, yeah, of course. I had not assumed at all from the beginning that he was, let's say, found in the condition in which he was found voluntarily. I was like, maybe that's the twist. But perhaps for them at least, the twist was that it wasn't voluntary. I was like, no, okay, duh, like, anyway. And then like, you're like, this is awful, but also this is awful because we've been given all this information about A, his relationship with God, and B, his like personal feelings on his oath of celibacy. So it's just like, I could not stop thinking about this book for like 2 weeks after I finished it, and I'm still highly emotional about this book. But it's so good. It's beautifully written. It just masterfully like moves back and forth between kind of like not just the present and the past, but also different parts of the past. Like, you do have to follow it a bit, but once you get used to the way it is, it makes sense, don't worry. And just, I love the characters. I love the way they're written. I love the dialogue. Just all of these interactions. Just like the beautiful kind of diversity of thought of these different characters. And I just loved the parts where Emilio is like, his relationship with God is changing. And like, I am agnostic, even atheist. I don't really believe in any of that. But it was very interesting to read a character who is a Jesuit priest while also being agnostic, but then who kind of becomes more religious. I guess like he begins to believe that God is real and that God loves him, which just sets him up for just the worst of falls at the end, given the things that happen. If everything that happened was meant to by God, that's awful. But anyway, God, I'm trying so hard. I don't want to spoil it, but like, I have so many feelings. This book is so good. Like, it's beautiful. It has a sequel. I'm going to read the sequel at some point, hopefully soon. But it's very good. It's very good. It's very good. It's very good. I think that there's like a little subgenre of sci-fi that has very interesting religious like themes or religious characters, science fiction that explores religion, and I love it, and I wish there was even more. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, so I was overjoyed to read that book because I loved it so much, and I was not expecting to love it so much. I expected to like it. I expect to like everything. I was not expecting that it would be a fucking revelation. But yeah, that's March, baby. I didn't grab my notebook, but of course I'm still reading my 20 books, as we know, and it's the end of the first quarter at the end of March. Well, I read 5. I did it. Go me. And I am in the middle of a 6th right now, actually. Yeah, so just very quickly, I guess, in the end, I am currently reading 2 more books, of course, and one of them is Lolita. So I'm gonna be expressing feelings about that next month, probably. Have you ever just hated a character? All right, I'm gonna go. But thank you.